Okay, let's dive right into this. Picture this. You're walking into one of the most luxurious, pristine retail boutiques on the planet. The security is incredibly tight, the floors are spotless, the sales associates are dressed to the absolute nines. You step up to the glass display cases, fully ready to drop tens of thousands of dollars. You look down, and the cases are completely empty. And no, this isn't a robbery. It's not some crazy supply chain glitch. This is literally just a random Tuesday at a Rolex boutique. Today, in this explainer, we are going to completely decode how the most famous watchmaker on Earth engineered the greatest psychological magic trick in modern business history. Get this. According to the highly anticipated 2025 Swiss Watcher report from Morgan Stanley and Lux Consult, Rolex is estimated to generate a staggering 11 billion Swiss francs in wholesale turnover this year alone. That's a frankly jarring reality. You've got a massive company generating 11 billion francs annually, yet their actual physical retail stores look like museums for unavailable products. And this opens up an incredible curiosity loop. Seriously, if you hop onto the Rolex subreddit, which is basically a support group where desperate buyers share their daily retail struggles, you'll see comments exactly like this one popping up constantly. People are waiting months, sometimes literal years, just to be allowed to buy a watch. So what is going on here? How does a company pull in 11 billion francs a year when its most eager customers literally cannot buy its products? Section 1. The Impossible Purchase. Section 2. Forging the Crown. Now, to understand how Rolex actually gets away with treating literal billionaires like job applicants, we have to look back at the historical blueprint that makes all this hype possible. Hans Wilsdorf founded the precursor to Rolex in London way back in 1905. And the thing is, he wasn't just a watchmaker, the guy was a visionary marketer. He knew that for a wristwatch to be taken seriously, it had to be, as he put it, a hermetically sealed tank. So in 1926, he introduces the Oyster, the world's first truly waterproof case. And he proves it the very next year by having Mercedes Gleitz actually wear one while swimming the English Channel. Then we get the perpetual self-winding rotor in 1931, followed by the Datejust in 1945.
And here's why that matters. Every single modern Rolex watch still relies heavily on those foundational innovations. Whether you're looking at a brand new Submariner or a vintage Datejust, that little line of text on the dial, Oyster Perpetual, is a technical promise of absolute durability. The only reason consumers are willing to play today's crazy retail game is because the hype is built on genuine, century-old, rock-solid engineering.
Section 3. The Scarcity Machine. But listen, great engineering alone doesn't turn your product into a billionaire's white whale. That requires a very deliberate strategy of restricting access to manufacture a global frenzy. And this brilliantly illustrates that point. Rolex commands nearly 33% of the entire Swiss watch market's value. To put that massive slice into perspective, their retail sales are estimated to be roughly 4.5 times bigger than their arch-rival Omega. One single brand dwarfs all its competitors, and they pull it off by making their product incredibly hard to get. So if you actually want to buy one of these watches, here is the gritty reality, sourced straight from veteran buyers online. Step 1. You must go local and in person. Honestly, don't even bother calling them on the phone. Step 2, you have to ask for one hyper-specific reference. Think a Datejust 41 with a blue dial and a fluted bezel. If you walk in and just ask for any steel sports model, they will instantly label you a flipper and you're done. And step 3, you often have to build what's called a spend history, which is really just luxury speak for buying diamond necklaces or less desirable watches that you don't even want, just to prove to the dealer that you're worthy of spending another 10 grand with them. Why jump through all these ridiculous hoops? Well, because the waitlist is a complete illusion. There is no linear, take a number, sequential queue. Instead, Rolex utilizes a carefully managed allocation system through their authorized dealers. These dealers are actively filtering clients based on their local profile, their overall vibe, and, of course, their profit potential. It is a system designed from the very top down to maintain an intensely exclusive brand image, giving them absolute pricing power. Section 4. The Psychology of Status. So you have to ask, why do incredibly successful, wealthy adults willingly submit to these, frankly, humiliating retail games? Why do they practically beg to spend $15,000 or easily pay double that on the secondary market? Now, what's really interesting about this is it all comes down to an economic phenomenon called the Veblen effect. Simply put, it means that the harder something is to get and the more expensive it is, the more people want it. Rolex has brilliantly made the sheer difficulty of the purchase the ultimate feature of the product. The struggle to buy one isn't a bug in the system. It literally is the system. Let's look at some wild numbers. According to Morgan Stanley estimates, Rolex produced around 1.24 million units in 2023. In 2024, they actually trimmed that down to 1.18 million. And for 2025, it's estimated to drop again to 1.15 million. So they are actively trimming their production volumes by about 2% a year, even when global demand is absolutely sky high. And yet, through strategic price hikes and relentless supply discipline, their revenue still climbed to that staggering 11 billion franc mark. They are literally making more money by selling fewer watches. No way, right? But it's true.
Psychologically, this triggers an incredible cocktail of desires. Watch collecting heavily taps into identity and self-expression. But even more than that, it activates the thrill of the hunt. That pure dopamine hit when your dealer finally gives you the call after a 2-year wait, it completely transforms a simple metal timepiece into a profound emotional victory. It becomes this potent mix of social signaling and perceived investment value all rolled into one.
Section 5. A billion-dollar secret.
But just when you think you totally understand the economics here, there is a massive twist hiding in the darkest, most secretive corner of the Rolex empire. As highlighted in a recent Silicon Canals documentary, Rolex actually belongs to no one. Really think about that for a second. Patek Philippe is owned by the Stern family, Cartier by Richemont, Omega by the Swatch Group. But Rolex? The man who built and controlled it, Hans Wilsdorf, died childless in 1960. And because of that, Rolex became something no other luxury empire on earth has ever been: permanently, deliberately unbuyable, and utterly impenetrable.
See, following the death of his wife in 1944, Wilsdorf left all his shares to a highly private trust, the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation. Because of this registered Swiss charitable foundation structure, Rolex answers to absolutely zero shareholders. They don't publish public accounts, they disclose zero operational metrics, they pay a lower tax rate. They exist simply to ensure the continuation of the Rolex Group and to distribute donations to charities, which allows them to play a permanent, completely untraceable, multi-generational long game without any outside interference.
And whatever you do, do not mistake their charitable status for weakness. When they decide to move, the ground literally shakes. Back in August of 2023, Rolex quietly acquired Boucherer, which happens to be its most important global retailer. With just one, silent, totally undisclosed transaction, they wiped out nearly 30% of the stock value of their public competitor, Watches of Switzerland. Literally before lunch. It was just a ruthless, masterful display of quiet market power.
Section 6. Investment or illusion.
Let's move to the present day and see how this builds into the broader horological landscape. So, what is the actual tangible value of a Rolex today? If we look objectively at the market, as debated extensively by watch enthusiasts online, you'll find some really fascinating contrasts. Take a brand like Grand Seiko, for instance. Watchmakers and collectors often point out that at the exact same price point, Japanese brands like Grand Seiko offer objectively superior macro-level metal finishing and highly innovative movements like their spring drive. But here's the kicker. Rolex isn't actually trying to sell you the best polished hands in the world. They are selling unparalleled cultural prestige and status signaling. And yet, as we all know, even cultural prestige is subject to gravity. In 2025, that massive post-pandemic frenzy is officially cooling off. Secondary market premiums are dropping, bringing prices way closer to normal retail. The hardcore speculators and the flip-it-for-profit crowd have mostly exited the market entirely. Waitlists at authorized dealers are notably shrinking for a lot of models. Plus, Rolex's newly expanded certified pre-owned program has allowed them to seize direct control of the resale market. The speculative bubble has essentially popped, which is finally stabilizing demand.
Which leaves us with this final, profound paradox. Rolex makes phenomenal, incredibly durable watches. That is just an undeniable fact. But their true genius wasn't just inventing the waterproof case back in 1926. It was inventing a system of scarcity, exclusivity, and impenetrable corporate secrecy that turned a mass-produced steel object into the ultimate global status symbol. So, as we rack up this explainer, I want you to ask yourself, is Rolex's greatest masterpiece the mechanics ticking away on your wrist, or the multi-billion-dollar illusion ticking away in your